The early 2000s were a great time for American apparel companies. Consumers were spending more than ever on disposable goods like clothing and jewelry, and the American middle class was seemingly booming. Tech items like iPhones and tablets had yet to take over, so teens and the public in general looked at apparel as one of the main ways to spend their money. High consumer spending brought the success of mall-based stores like Juicy Couture, True Religion, and American Eagle. One of the retailers experiencing the most success out of the bunch was Abercrombie and Fitch. The retailer offered quality clothing for teens, and it uniquely positions itself as an upscale teen retailer. After seeing success with its offshoot brand Hollister in the year 2000, Abercrombie sought to recreate that formula. But this time, it aimed towards the quintessential young professional. Hollister used a mysterious and highly themed store design that lured shoppers into the store. The Ruehl store design mimicked that style, but with a theme revolving around the upscale New York City neighborhood of Greenwich Village. Ruehl was aimed at what the company referred to as a near-luxury consumer who aspired to live in New York City after graduating from college. In September of 2004, after years of development, Abercrombie unveiled Ruehl No. 925 with 4 test stores in the US. The stores were located inside of high-end shopping centers like the International Plaza in Bay Street in Tampa, Florida. Before we move on, I would like to say that if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button so that it can reach more people, and please subscribe to the channel for more failed retail concept videos. Alright, moving on. The stores were designed to look like a Greenwich Village brownstone with multiple levels and countless rooms divided by a long hallway that ran through the spine of the store, with fitting rooms scattered throughout. The cash registers were placed at the very back of the store to encourage customers to walk through the entire store before paying for their merchandise. Some stores even featured working fireplaces, which were later discontinued due to fire damage. Interior glass panels illuminated from behind were installed to give the illusion of windows. Jazzy tunes blasted through the store's hardwood floors, adding to the classic ambiance that defines Greenwich Village. Like those at Abercrombie, young store associates guarded the doors of the store to greet customers. Merchandise was displayed in closets made to look like bookshelves and was dimly illuminated. It's reported that the company spared no expense when building these stores. Customers were quick to criticize multiple factors of the store design. Some of these complaints were the dark lighting that made it difficult to see the merchandise, lack of outdoor signage, and a general feeling of mystery when approaching the store. Most people didn't know what they were walking into until after they were inside. Although the stores located in outdoor shopping centers looked natural in that setting, the stores at indoor malls looked like they were shoved into a cube and frankly looked out of place. In any case, Ruehl used this store design to try and stand out from a sea of glass facades and plain storefronts that lined most malls. At 9,400 square feet per store, Ruehl was the largest out of all 4 concepts that Abercrombie offered at the time. Why they chose to make a store aimed at luxury customers this large is beyond me. But then again, the early 2000s were a time when retailers were bullish on the apparel market. Abercrombie was not the only teen company branching out to high-income earners. Around the same time, American Eagle introduced Martin & Osa, which I will discuss in a later video. Ruehl's merchandise was what I would describe as high quality. However, there was nothing new or unique about it. Prices ranged from $150 jeans to handbags priced at nearly $900. Ruehl was not a luxury brand, but it did aim to push mass-market consumers into spending more than they would at stores like Banana Republic. By the end of 2005, revenues for individual Ruehl stores on average stood at around $689,000, which is not nearly enough for stores of this size to sustain themselves. However, low revenues were expected initially, and the company pushed forward with the expansion of Ruehl. 4 additional locations were opened in 2005. By the end of 2007, total Ruehl revenue stood at around $50 million, still far below what was needed to make the brand profitable. However, the worst was yet to come for Ruehl. 2008 proved to be a reckoning for Abercrombie as it saw company-wide same-store sales drop by 13%. In particular, same-store sales for the Ruehl brand were down 24% over the prior year. Ruehl had already experienced a 9% drop in 2007 as compared to 2006. Same-store sales is a measure used to analyze how existing stores perform as compared to the prior year. The apparel industry was taking the biggest hit from the 2008 financial recession. and brands like Ruehl, which some would describe as overpriced, suffered the most. However, Abercrombie was not ready to give up on its concept as it saw the recession as just a blimp in the road. 29 locations were opened in total, including a small accessory store in Greenwich Village. Ruehl saw its last store open in late 2008. 2009 proved to be no better than 2008, and on June 16, 2009, after much deliberation, Abercrombie's board of directors approved the closure of all 29 Ruehl stores by Q1 of 2010. Abercrombie posted a net loss attributed to Ruehl of over $79 million. The company focused on international expansion for the Abercrombie and Hollister brands and the new Gilly Hicks concept aimed toward young women. So what happened? Why did the formula that worked so well for the Abercrombie and Hollister brands fail for Ruehl? Well, in my opinion, the stores attracted the wrong customer. Ruehl's youthful staff and clothing style attracted more teens than an older target base with more money to spend. Ruehl did not offer business casual clothing usually demanded by an older customer. The clothing failed to differentiate itself enough from its younger siblings. Despite attempting to provide fashion-forward options at the beginning of Ruehl's life, the company quickly pivoted to graphic tee designs found at teen stores. Further, the store experience was too reminiscent of the brands mentioned above. Perhaps the store attracted teens because they were already used to the anomalous facade they experienced with Hollister. Second, Ruehl failed to define itself as a premium brand. Yes, the brownstone design was nice, but to most, it wasn't obvious what the message was. Please tell me what you think of when you look at the store. Does luxury or premium come to mind? To me, it seems more like an entrance of a themed attraction at Disneyland. Don't get me wrong, I think the design is quite nice and well executed. However, it does nothing to tell customers about what kind of product to expect once you walk indoors. When looking at other luxury storefronts, you immediately know that you're walking into an expensive place, and you get to see at least a bit of what they have to offer inside. Some would argue that Ruehl was attempting to pull off a more understated kind of luxury image to contrast itself from the sometimes gaudy nature of more prominent brands like Gucci. However, this requires a careful balance of elements that typically fails to capture the attention of mass market consumers. Third, Ruehl invested almost nothing into advertising. Instead, most of the budget was spent on the actual physical store. The company's theory was that advertising was not necessary given the high traffic locations of the stores. The store experience itself was meant to overcome any shortcomings in advertising. The strategy had proven successful with the Abercrombie and Hollister brands, so it makes sense that the company would try to recreate this. But what the company failed to realize was that the target Ruehl customer was less likely to wander inside its stores without first knowing what laid inside. Lastly, the apparel industry is just, well, difficult. This industry has been oversaturated for decades now, and entering into the space typically requires brands to introduce new categories. For example, Lululemon saw massive success after it introduced the athleisure class, and gave new meaning to yoga attire and successfully positioned itself as a premium provider for athletic clothing. Ironically, Abercrombie and Hollister accomplished the same thing in some respects. It introduced the upscale teen category, which was something no other company had attempted before on a large scale. Ruehl, unfortunately, offered nothing new besides its quirky store design. So what are my key takeaways from Ruehl's failures? Well, aside from accepting that the apparel market is perhaps one of the most difficult markets to survive in, you must communicate your core message effectively. Ruehl needed to make it clear that it wasn't a teen retailer. It could have offered higher and more professional customer service within its stores, and it could have chosen to display its merchandise to new mall-goers passing by more effectively. Cutting out some of the fluff in the store design may have been necessary. Also, make sure you focus on your main product over everything else. After reading many customer reviews over the years, I feel that people were more impressed with the store design than they were with the clothing. If you want people to spend money, you need to make sure that what you're selling is a great product. I'm not saying that everything that Ruehl sold was bad, but it needed to focus more on offering clothing that kept up with current trends while maintaining its high quality. And I will admit this is difficult to pull off, but you have no other choice in a crowded space. I have been fascinated over this failed retail concept for many years now, and I'm glad I could cover it here on YouTube. What are your thoughts on Ruehl? Did you ever visit one of these stores or remember walking past one? Feel free to leave your comments down below letting me know. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to the channel as I will be making more failed retail concept videos in the upcoming weeks. And once again, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.